This evening, President Ali announces plans to advance the housing drive in Bartica. 1 year later, an inquiry into Peter Headley's death has yet to begin. CANU found close to $1 million in cannabis at Orange Walk. In the region, Ecuador police arrest indigenous leader amid protests over fuel prices. And internationally, Beijing imposes new COVID curbs over nightclub virus cluster. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Update. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. President Dr. Irfan Ali has announced a plan to advance the housing drive in Bartica with the construction of 500 homes. The president made a visit to the town today and made the announcement at the public meeting held at the Bartica Community Center ground. Accompanying the president was the Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell, Minister of Labour Joseph Hamilton, Minister of Governance and Parliamentary Affairs Gail Teixeira, and several high-ranking public service officers. President Ali told a large gathering that the Ministry of Housing and Water, Central Housing and Planning Authority, has secured 120 acres of land for housing and development. Additionally, having met with several teachers in the region, the president said their house needs would be addressed. With the advancement of the housing drive in the region, President Ali noted that the spin-off benefits would be tremendous for the community. According to President Ali, the skill set needed for the advancement of the housing drive in Region 7 will be drawn from within the region as contractors and the community would be engaged. In this report, Esther Sobers informs us that despite the passage of more than a year, the investigation into the fatal shooting of robbery suspect Peter Headley by a police officer has yet to begin. Here's more.
According to a recommendation from the Department of Public Prosecution, the fatal shooting of robbery accused Peter Headley by police officer Lance Corporal Tovin Carroll over a year ago will be subject for an inquest. The inquest was supposed to be recommended by the DPP in May 2021. Speaking with Headline News during a telephone interview, Regional Commander for Region 2 Women Superintendent Denise Griffith said the inquest has not yet begun and she's unaware of the officers involved in the shooting were given departmental charges.
I'm not aware that nobody, no officer is being charged for anything. I know when I took over here that the file went for advice, and I know that the file came back that an inquest should be held in the matter. That is what I can say. I communicated that to relatives who came to see me, and that's as much as I can say. I'm not aware about police officer. I don't know what happened during my absence. Because remember, I was not the divisional commander at that time. But I know they're not here in the region. Working here in the region, I know they had some form of action, disciplinary action being taken.
And could you say how soon they will have a findings after?
No, that would have to depend on the court. The inquest, when inquests are when they are being ordered, a copy of the file is sent to the coroner with a magistrate, and they would set the date. When they decide to set the date, and not only him, all over a lot of inquests, they said the day that we have a procedure to follow, because remember, persons have to be take the oath, have to be sworn, just like how we have a jury trial in the High Court, where you have persons like you have a foreman and you have two. There would be more than five, either 3 or 5, and they would take the oath and they sit in the panel. So it's a procedure. So the magistrate would determine when they sit time or convenient to call up those inquests. And I told him, I said, we have a lot of inquests.
On May 15, 2021, Headley was shot by one of 2 police ranks while being transported to the Providence police station. Reports are that Headley and Rondell Daly were apprehended by police at Nandi Park, East Bank, Danrara for soliciting sales of stolen electrical appliances. While being transported to the Providence station by the 2 ranks in the car, Headley had the stolen items in. The police claim that Headley reached under the seat of the vehicle and pulled out what appeared to be a firearm. This caused the armed rank to discharge a round which struck him. Headley, a father of 2, was taken to the Diamond Diagnostic Center where he succumbed while receiving medical treatment. 2 police officers were placed under house arrest as the investigation was ongoing. Headley family and friends have staged multiple protests in the request for justice. However, they are still waiting for answers to bring closure to the man's death. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Police in Region 3 apprehended a passenger minibus transporting 7 kilograms of cannabis on the east bank of Ecuador. Dale Jarvis has the details.
Police ranks in Regional Division No. 3 acting on information received intercepted a minibus in the vicinity of Ornstein, East Bank, Essequibo, and found a half a sack containing over 7,000 grams of marijuana on Tuesday 14th. According to the Commander for Regional Division No. 3, Senior Superintendent Mahendra Sunarayan, around 5:30 p.m. the ranks stopped the Pitbull minibus and conducted a search. A black haversack was found at the bottom of the rear seat containing 10 transparent and bulky plastic containing several leaves, seeds and stems suspected to be cannabis. The passengers were questioned and escorted to Bartica Police Station along with the minibus. At Bartica Police Station, further investigations were conducted, which led to the arrest of 2 passengers, a 28-year-old taxi driver of Charlotte Street, Georgetown, and a 36-year-old laborer of Zilet, East Bank, Essequibo. The suspected cannabis was raised in the presence of the men and amounted to over 7,000 grams. The suspects were placed in custody pending charges. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jarvis.
Thanks, Dale. Stick around after the break. Close to $1 million in cannabis was found at Orange Walk, and 30 young people from Region 6 were allocated low-income homes. But before that, here's the bridge retraction schedule.
At John Lewis Styles, we carry only first quality, men's and women's clothing, footwear, and accessories. As authorized dealers, our items come directly from the manufacturing brands, and are available in all sizes and colors. What we sell was never on display in another store. It's time you know the truth about what you buy. Come visit us on Waterloo Street. John Lewis Styles. Simply different.
Forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road, Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
They say that when it hits you you. A feeling so strong that it's impossible not to give in to a juicy piece of KFC. To feel elevated by the aroma and to free fall into its exciting flavor. Some call it love, attraction, desire. We call it KFC. Ignite your senses with KFC.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Welcome back. As part of government's national housing program, 30 young people from Region 6 were allocated low-income homes at Ordnance Fortlands during an outreach conducted by the Central Housing and Planning Authority at the Regional Democratic Council compound in New Amsterdam on Tuesday. This is the first set of 102-bedroom flat homes currently under construction at Ordnance Fortlands. Each unit measures 20 feet by 30 feet and costs $5.5 million, inclusive of the cost of land. In brief remarks, Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell said the initiative forms part of the government's national housing program, which aims to provide 50,000 house lots by 2025. 100 more homes are underway at Williamsburg, Hampshire, with another 59 units slated to be constructed in the area. Simultaneously, the minister said that the ministry is executing infrastructural development works of more than $1.1 billion in the region. To date, 1,200 homes are underway for lower to moderate income families, as well as young professionals across regions 3, 4, 6, and 10. Some 300 homes were completed and handed over to families to date. Further, more than 11,000 house lots were allocated to citizens through the Housing Ministry's signature Dream Realized Home Lot distribution exercise, with over 3,500 transports and title distributed thus far. CANU apprehended 2 persons after they were found with a large amount of cannabis worth about $1 million in border area. Dale Jarvis has the details.
Officers of the Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit conducted an operation on Orange Walk in the vicinity of Border Market and intercepted 2 males with a bag containing brick-like parcels of suspected cannabis on Tuesday, June 14th. 25-year-old Akeem Henry of Lot 32 Bench Street, Working Russ, and 27-year-old Ryan Marks, who has no fixed place of abode, were arrested and escorted to CANU headquarters with the suspected narcotics which tested positive for cannabis. The 5 parcels containing cannabis weighed over 2.6 kg with a street value of approximately 800,000 Guyana dollars. The men are in custody pending charges. Investigations are ongoing. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jarvis.
A Londoner tragically died after losing control of his motorcycle on a Mackenzie public road, as the source explains.
Police are investigating yet another fatal accident on the country's roadway. The accident occurred at Washer Pond Public Road in the Mackenzie Linden early this morning. Dead is 50-year-old Sean DePrutron of 1 Mile Wismar Linden. Police headquarters reported at around 5:30 a.m. DePrutron was driving motorcycle CL4030 south along the eastern side of the road when he lost control at the slight bend and collided with a rail at around 5:30 hours. According to reports, DePrutron was not wearing a helmet at the time of the accident. He was picked up in an unconscious state by police-rated individuals and transferred to the Mackenzie Hospital complex, where he died while undergoing treatment. The investigation is still ongoing. For Channel 2 Headline News, Esther Sobers.
Thanks, Esther. Don't go away after the break. EU Commission calls on Hungary to suspend discriminatory fuel prices, and Beijing imposes new COVID curbs over nightclub virus cluster.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. The leader of Ecuador's largest indigenous organization has been detained after he rallied against the government, Al Jazeera's Lucia Newman reports.
Tempers were already reaching boiling point when the government ordered the arrest of Leonidas Issa, leader of Ecuador's Confederation of Indigenous Peoples. The powerful organization had just begun a national strike to demand that fuel, food, and fertilizer prices be lowered and frozen. Shortly before the arrest, Issa had sent a stern message to President Guillermo Lasso.
If the president does not respond to any of our demands, then we will continue indefinitely.
Ecuador's acute economic crisis, made much worse by the pandemic, has led to a sharp rise in prices, hunger, and malnutrition. Issa's arrest has angered indigenous communities that produce the lion's share of the country's fresh food. In Ecuador's Amazon region, the combative indigenous organization that represents more than 1,500 communities is calling for a national uprising.
The Ecuadorian state has kidnapped our leader. I'm summoning all the presidents of all indigenous nationalities, organizations, federations, communities to rise up and march and reach every city in the country.
It's not an empty threat. Less than 3 years ago, the Indigenous Confederation brought Ecuador's previous government to its knees through strikes and sometimes violent public protests. After paralyzing the country for 10 days, the government caved in to demands to retract the increase in fuel prices, as required by the IMF. President Lasso says Issa's arrest is to prevent those whom he accuses of spreading instability from paralyzing the country again.
The arrest of the intellectual and material authors of violent acts has begun. Now it is up to the Public Prosecutor's Office and the courts to act, because no one is above the law.
But all indications are that the government's response to mounting unrest is likely to make an already explosive situation even worse. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera.
Internationally, Hungary has provoked more criticism from the European Union, this time over a discount fuel policy. Only drivers with Hungarian license plates are eligible for cheaper petrol, while those with foreign registered cars have to pay market rates, Al Jazeera's Laura Bordenmanner reports.
A government decision to slash prices at the petrol pump is a relief to many Hungarians. But now it's limiting the cheap fuel to locals only.
I think it is the right of every country which fuel price they set. When there will be a central ruling in the EU that salaries and pensions should be the same in all countries, then we can say that everything should cost the same.
This is the decision of the Hungarian government. I completely agree with it, with all its benefits and drawbacks.
Fuel prices are soaring across Europe, with many motorists paying 60 to 70% more than Hungary to fill their tanks. Neighbouring Slovak countries have been skipping the border to towns like Esztergom to fill up on fuel. Until now.
No, it's not good for the relations between the countries, for France, Germany, Italy, Slovenia and Hungary.
Governments across Europe are looking for ways to soften the blow from a sharp rise in fuel and food costs, starting with the COVID-19 pandemic and made worse by the war in Ukraine. From offering billion-dollar packages to boosting subsidies and reducing taxes. But the move to restrict caps to Hungarian vehicles led to the threat of court action by the European Union's industry chief, and the EU Commission isn't happy either.
The Commission received several complaints from EU citizens on the Hungarian measures, as they have experienced first-hand discriminatory fuel prices when they are purchasing fuel at Hungarian service stations.
Prime Minister Viktor Orban says he had to act.
An extraordinary situation requires extraordinary measures, and in such a situation it's also permissible, and I think it is even imperative to deviate from general rules.
Good news for local motorists, but the EU asserts this is an excuse to justify discrimination based on nationality. Laura Burton-Manley, Al Jazeera.
And finally, mass COVID-19 testing and neighborhood lockdowns have been reimposed in Beijing and Shanghai after new virus clusters. The strict, heavy-handed measures are taking their toll on the economy, with the new data pointing to difficult recovery. Al Jazeera's Katrina Yu reports.
Beijing authorities say they're racing against time to contain a ferocious resurgence of COVID-19. Less than a week after the capital eased virus restrictions, hundreds of new cases have been identified, all linked to this nightclub, Heaven's Supermarket. Its business license has been suspended, and the owners are under investigation.
Police have launched a criminal investigation into the bar and the relevant people in charge of the bar on suspected interference with epidemic prevention.
Several other people have been charged with breaking COVID rules, including 3 men who ignored orders to isolate at home. The cluster has spread to 14 of Beijing's 16 districts and prompted mass testing in the largest, Chaoyang. The reopening of schools has been delayed.
Heaven's Supermarket Bar is located here in Sanlitun, an area of Beijing known for its nightlife, restaurants and shopping. These businesses had just reopened when this new cluster was found, and now hundreds of them have had to close their doors again until further notice.
Dozens of cases have also been recorded in Shanghai, forcing tens of thousands of people back indoors. The commercial center emerged from a strict 2-month lockdown at the beginning of June. New economic data shows China's zero-tolerance approach to the pandemic is continuing to take a toll. In May, industrial output rose 0.7% compared to the same month last year, and property sales improved slightly. But retail sales fell 6.7%, with uncertainty weighing heavily on consumer spending.
It is so incredibly susceptible to faltering the moment there is even a slight COVID outbreak or a COVID scare even, that I think consumption is going to remain under severe pressure. And that is the biggest economic challenge for the party right now. But righting that is going to take a lot of effort, and that is going to mean a drastically different COVID policy than the one that we have in place today.
Analysts say as long as China's leaders refuse to live with the virus, sustained economic recovery will be difficult, leaving business owners anxious, knowing they could be one COVID-19 case away from closing their doors. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now to 3 the weather forecast. That is all for this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Updates. Tune in on Thursday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.